Welcome back, everybody. Preseason game number 1 is in the books. The Chiefs looked, yes, a lot of good ways, and I swear I'm not going to give you a victory lap yet. He's not on the roster yet, but hey, I think we might be able to run the ball a little bit this year. I don't know, man. You tell me. This is Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. Welcome to RGR Football. Dan, biggest takeaway for you, preseason game number 1.
The biggest takeaway was Andy Reid said, we out. We out. As soon as Hollywood Brown got hurt, everybody and your mother sit down, and Kingsley Suamataia is your week 1 starter. He did not see the field at all the rest of the football game, regardless of what Wanya Morris was doing. I guarantee you if he was playing, he would have been in there with the second string team, and that would be what to do about nothing. I told you guys when he was drafted, he'd be the starter in week 1. Here we are. He's going to be the starter.
Yeah, it was very clear. I thought he looked fine. I don't think they were, obviously Josh Hines Allen wasn't out there. And I'm sorry, Josh, I'm going to mess up your name for about 3 years before I freaking get it. Apologies. But I mean, so obviously not top tier, but yeah, it was quick. I felt like the offense, other than the injury to Hollywood, looked like it moved well. Looked like the O-line was at least understanding what it was to do. Caliendo looked solid at guard, in my opinion, not so much at center, in my opinion. Obviously, the Hollywood injury is the worst part of this. And before we get to the details, there are some reports going on out there, folks. I just want to get your opinion, Dan. I felt like this team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, after having seen zero film on him, only pre-draft, was already scared to death of Xavier Worthy, and I felt his presence on that field for those 4 snaps.
It was exactly what we've been talking about. Hollywood Brown was wide open over the middle of the field because of Xavier Worthy. He was there. He goes streaking down the field. Oh, look at this. An over route from Hollywood Brown. He's wide open. And Patrick does a great little sidearm throw to layer it next to that linebacker to throw it in front of Hollywood Brown. And unfortunately, we get the injury, which again, we will find out far more about the injury after he goes through all the tests and stuff. But it sucks to have it happen. It's best to happen now. If it's going to happen at all, you'd rather have it happen now. So the one thing that I did note about the offense when the first team out there is that they were a much faster paced offense than we have seen. It looks like they're trying to take the offense with the speed that they have and really get after defenses. You guys not only have to worry about the defense or about the speed down the field, we're going to up our tempo a little bit, make you tired, and then possibly be able to rip off a couple of big plays because you're not in position quickly enough to account for that. So that was definitely something that I noted as well. Also, the very first run, the biggest run from the Chiefs, not named Carson Steele, was Isaiah Pacheco on a single back power. Andy, power. Say it with me, Andy. Lean into the power run game, baby. It's some of your best work.
Can you hear me in the back? I agree. And I do feel like that play in particular, I felt also highlighted Xavier. Like that's what that speed does. It opens things up. Pacheco, 8 yards a carry on the night against their ones. Obviously, Steele did his thing. We'll get to him in a minute, and we'll get to Hollywood.
He had 2 carries. I mean, one went for 0 yards. Come on. What are we doing here?
He only knocked down 7 dudes on that run, though. But, I mean, it is what it is. Forced missed tackles. That includes running people over. And Nathan, you absolutely had it correct. To say this is putting it very, very mildly, my friend, but I appreciate you. We're going to get to Andrew and all the super chats coming up. If you want on the show tonight, throw a super chat in there. We'll try to get to the other topics as we break down. If you know what we do here, this is going to be pretty standard. We're going to go through our main notes. If you want everything that I wrote down for this team, it will be available in the members section tomorrow, Monday, normally on a normal weekend. And you can see what I'm writing to make sure that I can remember it for yourselves. That said, tonight we will probably only take the super chats as we have a ton of our notes to go through. And then the big Q&A is always Monday night like it normally is. So that said, I would say this, Dan, did you have Carson on the roster before?
Let me actually pull it up really quickly because
I thought you actually had, because I was playing possum. I didn't put him on either of my 53 projections.
I do
Okay.
think I had him
and
at
I
my
think
4.
I think that's legit now. I think that showed enough. And I will say it this way. I still feel they need a home run hitter. I still feel that they need speed out of that backfield. And so maybe there's still an acquisition there. But having a guy like Steele that can come along and learn from what Pacheco can do, I feel like that's doubling down, that's strengthening. If Isaiah twists an ankle and misses a game or something like that, you have somebody that can step into that type of run and still feel like you can be productive there. You don't have to change the whole offense. So I like that aspect of it completely.
Yeah, I do have Pacheco, CEH, Steele, and Prince on my current updated roster, because as we get closer and I get into training camp on Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to see some of these things as they reflect from what happened and what the Chiefs have learned from this preseason game. So we're going to see how that goes. But yeah, I do have Steele. I bumped him up to 3 after tonight. Like I just moved him over Prince, because I'll be very honest with you. They tried to get Prince a couple of opportunities, didn't look very good. And there was the one where he had a gigantic lane to rush into and he just didn't go. He just kept going at the tackle. And then he's like, oh, I need to go over here. And I'm sorry. Like,
Too late.
I was on with the, it's Always Sunny in Chiefs Kingdom guys are friends of the show. And I was saying, if you guys, they need to see what they have in Prince, or they need to bring somebody in, regardless of what Steele does. Because if you don't have anything in Prince, you don't have anything. You have nothing back there. So this was not a good showing from anybody not named Carson Steele in the back half.
And maybe that emphasizes his performance even that more. I will say LRZ looked better than I expected behind the line of scrimmage, because what I saw in practice looked absolutely terrible. Now, we got to give the guy a lot of credit. He's never played the game before, but he actually navigated the backfield a little better than I thought he would, to tell you the truth.
He just looks like a wide receiver. He does not look like a running back. And that aesthetic, I'm just watching it. I'm like, this is legitimately a wide receiver running the football. We got to do something different.
What are we doing?
I just don't like it. It doesn't look good for me.
I mean,
or him, I think.
I see where you're coming from. I would say just let him grow into it. He's so new at it all, except for the fact that they're pushing to make him a returner, so he's got to have a 53-man slot. So I agree with you. Like, you got to make more of it now if you're going to give him a spot on the roster. That's what it comes down to. Folks, I just saw another report on Hollywood, and I do want to make this one clear. So here's the bottom line. This is the same injury that Tyreek Hill had a couple of years ago. It is the sternoclavicular joint as your clavicle comes in and attaches. You have ligaments in there. You can break your clavicle itself. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. The AC joint strain sometimes is I think Matt even put it out there. The standard is 4 to 6 weeks, but it is highly variable within that range. The part that I'm nervous about is the newest report that I just saw is that Andy in the presser said that he has been hospitalized due to this dislocation. That is normal, at least initially, to run the test. If he's staying overnight, that's a much bigger issue. And to quote Adam Schefter, it says his availability for the start of the regular season is now in question. Okay, fair enough. He missed the preseason. I ain't too worried. But if it goes much past game 3, I start to get a bit nervous about his ability to contribute long term.
So this is a weird thing, okay? Because, like I said, it's the same injury that Tyreek Hill sustained in Jacksonville. In Jacksonville again, Hollywood Brown suffers the same damn injury. How? It's not even a common injury. It doesn't happen very often. This is something you don't see happening all the time. So how the hell are we seeing the same thing happen in Jacksonville with 2 injuries to the Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers? That's weird. But if I recall correctly, Tyreek Hill stayed in Jacksonville that night and had it reset under anesthesia and then returned the next day, and he was able to recover. So it depends on your recovery. Again, if it's the exact same thing, he's still undergoing tests, and regardless, he'll probably stay there overnight and then have whatever it is fixed, just like Tyreek Hill did if it is the exact same situation, and then be sent back for recovery and rehab after. So it all just depends on the recovery time. The fact that it happened now is best case scenario, because you don't want that happening later in the season, because then you really have to worry about everything else. And We've already seen a couple of things now with Juju Smith-Schuster being released from the Pets. There's a lot of people asking if he's going to be in Kansas City now. This would tend to say, yes, it makes a lot more sense to bring Juju back because he would fit into that slot. He would be that guy in the offense, the intermediate short player. So I still wouldn't want it personally because I don't think that Juju has much left to offer after another injury-plagued season last season and leaving Kansas City on that note. But it would not surprise me if the Chiefs said he knows the playbook. We wouldn't have to teach him anything. He's been in camp already for the Patriots. Just bring him in and slot him in.
Yeah, I think in that situation, I agree with you. I think the Chiefs care more about what's in the head than what's in the legs. I agree. And with his continued deterioration physically, I feel like I don't know that he can be a stretcher in any way now. It feels like he is redundant behind Rashee Rice to me because I don't know that he can give you anything else.
No, for sure.
So it would make sense, though, from a knowledge standpoint. I think the guy who reaps the most benefit from this is McCole Hardman for the same reasons. He knows the playbook. He has the speed to do some of the similar things. I would think that the depth chart sees him rise. We'll go over that. I want to get to Andrew's super chat. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate you. And yes, congratulations. We can call him a fullback for now. He's way more than that, but that's okay.
He's not a fullback. He's definitely not a fullback.
It's the juice. Yeah. Although they said that they're practicing him as a fullback, and he did do that freshman sophomore year, if I remember correctly. So they might be able to dust some of it off. I'm really interested to see the H stuff, or if it is a fullback in an offset role where you can give him the ball. But I think there's a lot left to find out there, Andrew. But thanks for bringing it up, and cheers for being here, buddy. Let's see. Info, nice to see you, pal. Rich. There's a lot of questions around this, so let's get into the depth chart then, Dan.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rashee, number 1. Xavier would be number 2. I would think McCole goes 3. They had Sky out there ahead of McCole, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's Sky more, and then McCole. But who else stood out to you that maybe is now moved up into a spot that could see a roster spot?
I think it has to be in this situation, Justin Ross. Now, it wasn't a ton of volume. They really were getting the ball into Nico Remigio's hands as frequently as possible because they wanted to see what he could do. But when we're looking at specifically immediately after the injury occurred, the receiver that went out there was Sky Moore. It was Sky Moore, okay? Yep. You don't like him. I understand it. He is going to make this roster. Because after that, after the second team he went out there with Carson Wentz, he was done. It was done. They clearly have seen enough, at least, again, in my opinion, based on what we know that Andy Reid likes to do with their players. They know enough about what he's done in the camp and today to say he's probably safe, especially with the injury concern to Hollywood Brown. So you look at that. I think Justin Ross, with the body, sits just the way that the Chiefs are small at receiver. They just don't have a ton of big guys out there. If you figure Sky makes it and McCole Hardman makes it, I don't think you can justify Nico Remigio, another small player, over a guy who offers a little bit more. If you want to play him in that big slot role, you can do that with Justin Ross as well, who also showed on that ball that he went up and caught. He actually swiped the hands away, a little inside stutter release, outside win, and won vertically. So there's something there, at least from that projection in terms of what he can do for this offense in the absence of a Hollywood Brown.
I think you nailed it. I don't know what they're going to do, but it comes down to, will they use him in a way that his skill set is useful? And that's really all it comes down to, because we've seen, especially the jump ball. I thought the crosser was nice. He can do things. It's whether they will do the things that he can do. I just don't know yet. I will say this, that I know everybody's down on Remigio tonight. Remigio. I thought he started the game well against better competition. I thought he played fine. I thought he had some lapses in concentration, and I think it's important for us to remember this is his first significant action against somebody that isn't a Kansas City Chief. So I'm gonna throw this one out and let it be, and see how he reacts and what he does after this performance, which was very up and down.
Yeah, it's the first after the injury, because he did have multiple games in the preseason last year where he showed up and, he had, I think it was 4 catches for 71 yards against the Saints, where that was everyone started talking about it, and then he got hurt. So there's going to be more opportunities for him to show his worth. And he was the first kick returner out there with Louis Zammit. So he was already slotted in as that special teams guy. So there's going to be a lot of decisions to have to be made. And at the end of the day, it wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs just left or went with the guys that they have and said, okay, we're going to go ahead and not bring anybody in, especially because you figure Watson comes back anyway. And we all just assumed he was on the roster regardless, but he now becomes your other starting wide receiver if he's fully healthy. And what you have is Justin Watson, Rice, and Xavier Worthy. And I think that's what you end up going to the season with.
Yeah. I think that's the only option. Minotaur, thank you again, folks. If you got a free membership, you can thank Minotaur because he gave them out. That's all chat oriented. You can be in here for the live streams. We'll have another one Monday night if you're new to us. But also you can upgrade if you want my game notes, any of our behind the scenes little film breakdowns that I've been doing lately. Haven't seen a whole lot of eyes on those, so I'll try to get them posted again so everybody can see them. Join the memberships and go up to Rookie there, and you can get into that. Thank you, Minotaur. You the man. Before we get into the nonstop questions, and we'll try to hit the rest of these, especially for our super chatters and our members. Who else, like, if you were going to give out, a couple of guys that really stood out to you, who were they?
I mean, really stood out. Jaden Hicks was fantastic and everything I expected him to be. Anticipatory. He was fast. He's a big hitter. I know he went up a little high on that, on the blitz. Whatever. You'll live and you'll learn a little bit. We're going to talk about Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Okay. We're going to do it. We're going to get out of the way right now because he played into the third quarter. And granted, I was mixing up 57 and 97 because I only saw the sevens at times. And I'm just like, is that still Felix? No, it's not. Okay. So you have to remember that I think with Felix, he's still trying to figure out some things, but he was testing out multiple different pass rush moves. I saw a Euro step. I saw a jump cross chop. I saw a rip. We saw the dive into the B gap. We saw just a plain try to swipe and win at the outside. So he was testing out a lot today. He was generating quite a bit of pressure, but his problem so far is still getting his feet up the arc and cornering down the line. Like, he just cannot seem to figure that out. When he does, he's going to be a problem. He was already causing problems today. Yep. And that stunt where he nearly had a sack and then the touchdown, if they actually call the hold, nothing is a problem. But if he doesn't get held, he's actually getting the sack because it was a clean two-hand swipe. He was free to the quarterback, but he got held and you saw it because he couldn't get down immediately. So there's a lot to like about what we saw from Felix today, but disengaging from blocks on run stops is still a tick slow. And getting the corner for him is going to be big, but there's clearly something starting to click, I think, in what he's doing. The fact that he was trying so many different things out shows you that he's just kind of out there playing around to see what he can get away with.
Yeah, I agree. I will say the other thing that stood out to me too is that he played through snaps more. You saw him get some wrap-up plays. He was down the field a couple of times. I felt like last year he was good for the first 3 seconds of a rep, and that was pretty much over. You didn't see that hustle, and I felt like that part is coming to fruition as well. We're just going to go really through.
He did not get run over on the run game or bullied by tight ends. None of that happened. Okay, it didn't happen. He was just not disengaging. That's all. His physical strength is far better than it was last year. Like, he got a lot better. So don't take him not disengaging from tight ends or offensive linemen as he got bullied. He just was a little bit slow on disengaging and tackling. That's all.
Yeah, and I will tell you what, he wasn't the only one. I'm a little concerned about the linebackers. The guys that have playing experience, they were a little bit slow tonight, a little bit recognition-wise. I expected more from Drew Tranquil on that clean arrow route that he should have undercut because he knows better. You know what I mean?
Should have seen it coming.
People have been asking me why my guy Cam Jones isn't getting playing time over Jack Cochran. And I got to tell you, I don't know, because I thought both of them shed as if they were 5-year-olds. they couldn't get off of blocks, either of them, all night long. And so I think maybe that was a rotational thing. Maybe Cam will get there too. I admit Cam was not processing as quickly as I expected him to in year 2. So maybe there's still an issue coming along there. But with Bolton out, I am a little concerned that the depth is certainly not up to speed. Curtis Jacobs didn't play till the 4th quarter. So that ain't there. I don't know that the depth at linebacker is going to be as good as we thought it was.
Yeah, as soon as you lose your actual coverage backer and you're trying to make do with, no offense to Drew Tranquil, but since he bulked up, he's not been as good in pass coverage as he was before. He's just not. And that was obvious today. If he gets a hair too far out in his drop, the running backs can easily get in front of him. He doesn't have the closing speed to get that gap. He has to be in the perfect position every time. Now, he was a little slow today. I think that was just more knocking off the rust in a real game. I don't think that's going to be an issue going forward. But you have to remember, Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquil, and Leo Chenal are not coverage backers. They're not. At this point in their careers, they're not. And those are your 3 guys, 1, 2, and 3. So covering running backs out of the backfield could be a big problem this year. It just could.
And I think you hit it on the head. Anthony, thanks for putting out the folks. Throw a thumbs up on there if you're still in here. You know, we got plenty of people. Might as well hang out. I think part of the problem is Tranquil came into the league as a safety. I think he still thinks he is a coverage backer. That's, I think, part of the problem. So come on, bro. You bulked up on purpose to take on the run. Let's not just make assumptions here.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I feel for him, though. Daryl, thank you. Congratulations on passing 3 years in the memberships. We appreciate you, and we do this because of you guys. Very much appreciate you. I missed the first half of the game, but didn't know it was on 39 the spot. 38 the spot. What is that? I don't even know.
Is
that like a streamer or something?
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure here, Daryl. The closest I got was the score was 39. I don't know. That's all I got. 39 total points. And it's funny because I tweeted out the other day about, our new partners at Bet US had the line at 40.5. And I said, hey, the under's easy. I didn't think you'd be getting a sweat here, but here we are.
Folks, if you want in the action, use RGR at Bet US. We'll have more on it later in the week. Girk, thanks for the super chat. We appreciate you, buddy. Worried about number of injuries or injury-prone players on the roster. Tony, Brown, Worthy, Watson, second string CBs, all of them. Reed Cook, Bolton, Tooney. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call Joe Tooney injury-prone. This is the first significant injury he's ever had. I wouldn't call Worthy prone. He played through injuries, so I don't see that quite the same way. Yes, was he nicked up? And maybe because of his frame, does he get nicked up a little more often? Yes, but everyone that I talk to that has any experience in Texas, he played through pretty much everything. So I'm not too worried about him in particular. Are you?
No, and I think the only reason that we even heard anything about his hamstring injury is because they didn't want him to practice. They didn't even want it to possibly get a little bit worse because soft tissue injuries in the preseason are no joke. You have to be able to be fully ready to go before you start doing what he does and sprinting down the field. Like you can't have anything risking that. So I'm not worried about Worthy. Again, he played through a broken hand and was still catching bombs down the field his sophomore year at Texas. So that's, again, a mentality thing for him. It's big. I am a little concerned about the corners. Specifically, this was something that I have talked about. Not just the injury stuff, but this cornerback room is built on guys that do not play the football. They play the man. And they're taught to. It's part of the defense. I get it. But it's a problem when you can get stacked by second and third team wide receivers on a regular basis. Josh Williams and everybody behind him was getting stacked. And if you have injuries there, guess what? Did anybody else see Kamal Hadden today? What's going on there?
Yeah, unfortunately, I did.
One play.
I got nothing.
Like once. Like one play.
Yeah,
I didn't even see him out there at all. So.
Oh yeah, no. I think I counted 9 reps.
I did not see
a tight end crossed his face and got away from him. He just looked a little lost to me. Nick Jones in particular is the guy that I'm worried about, letting guys get behind him, but B,
Yeah,
not
that
even
too.
turning for the ball. It reminded me of Javarius Ward when he first came over. Like, that's why Nick isn't progressing. Now I understand. I was disappointed. They gave a ton of snaps to Taylor. T. Taylor's a solid player, but I did not see what I expected from him tonight. He lost in phase. He didn't seem to be aware of the route that was coming at him. There's only a few options in some of these situations. So I was a little concerned about him as well. Did you see anybody at the corner group beyond Trent McDuffie and Shamari Connor that you felt good about?
A couple plays from Boydo. Again, physical guy who plays pretty well downhill, and he shows best when he's tackling guys. He wants to lay him out. It was not a great day for your cornerback room at all. I guarantee you, Steve Spagnuolo is not going to be happy when they watch that back. And we did get confirmation that the 38 spot is the channel on the local Kansas City broadcast. So that's what Daryl was talking about. So now we're all caught up on that. Thank you, guys.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And Gerg, thank you for that super chat before. Alex, by week 4, the Chiefs are going to be kicking all touchbacks, right? Just so they don't have to try to return anything or recover any return. Woof. I don't know.
I will be very honest with you guys. I did not expect a Dave Tobe team to be that bad in the kick return situation. Even with the new rule, I've watched every other team so far, and none of them have been this bad. None of them have been this bad. So I'm so confused. Obviously, the whole McCall situation, it wasn't in the rule book. That was weird. But the fact that Deneric Prince just stood there and said, "Yeah, let's let this ball go out of bat or go into the end zone," he had no idea.
Right?
No idea. He's like, "Hey, I'll just watch this go into the end zone. That's a touchback,
right? Like, you don't need to be out there if you don't have a damn clue." Which I still don't understand, because I thought the landing zone was from the goal line to the 20. So landing in the end zone still seems like it's outside of that to me. Maybe I'm wrong. I got nothing. I have to review it all. Oh, but yeah, Alex, we may see that. I don't know. Tommy, nice to see you, buddy, and thanks for being a member. You know that I am now bought in. I needed to see the transition from college to the pros. And again, this was against twos, and Dan's going to say it's no big deal. But I think that's the start, and that showed you possibility.
You even retweeted the tweet that I made. Like, he's on the roster. All I needed was one run. Some running back show me something. That's all I needed. That's all I wanted. And he showed me something. I'm like, that man is a Chief, and he's on the roster.
I'm ready. I'm so ready. I just hope they'll use him. Info, I thought Norzad looked pretty solid and good, and I know there's other contradicting opinion out there. I thought Caliendo was up and down. I didn't see enough snaps from Hansen. I'm not sure. But I felt Norzad was completely inconsistent. I thought I saw a couple good snaps, especially when he was in combo blocks. But I also saw some things where it felt like pass rush-wise, he was a little lost.
I'll be fair with him. He played left guard, right guard, and center.
Fair.
I mean,
yeah.
When you're moving around every single different drive you go out there, you're bound to make some mistakes. And I felt the same way about Caliendo. He looked better at guard than he did at center. I just don't like what Caliendo offers. I saw one rep where he did something well, and is where he turned a defensive lineman over. Like, he actually just torqued him out of the way.
Hole.
Not something, just like, hey, buddy, hey, go over here. That was the only bright spot I saw from him, but otherwise, he snapped the ball right over Carson Wentz's head, was a sieve in pass protection for the most part, but this is the first preseason game, everybody. This is the first real live action that they've had, even when you count training camp. So there's going to be a lot of rust to knock off. And when you have an offensive line that Joe Thuney isn't playing because he's just waiting for the regular season, and Wanya Morris, who again would have been a backup situation, maybe they're just waiting for him to get up. The backup tackles scare me. They scare me very much.
And Chu came in, correct me if I'm wrong, Chu came in at LT2, right?
He did. Yes, and he was out almost immediately.
Yeah. And kudos to Driscoll. I know he's got a long way to go. Level of competition for him is going to be an enormous mountain to climb, but he got a cross chop thrown at him tonight, and he didn't know what the hell he was looking at. Like, there is a long way to go.
So if it were me, again, I originally had Chuk making the roster. I am getting Donovan Smith on the phone right now. After this football
Yeah.
game, I'm getting Donovan Smith on the phone right now, and I'm saying you need to get on the next plane to Kansas City if you're not already there because you were there last year, and get down here because the tackle situation behind their starters with an unhealthy Wanya Morris is not good. It's just not good.
I mean, you're one twisted ankle away, It's tough. And you always have to be prepared, especially if you're Brett Veach. You have to be prepared for everything because there is no net. You only get a run at a three-peat once every 20 years because nobody seems to be able to go back to back since the Patriots until this team has. So you got to. It's all in. It's all in on every level all the time, no matter what. It's all gas. Doug, thank you, and I know we covered your topic without giving you credit for asking the question, but thanks, Doug. Appreciate you. Doug. And I know you have another one right here. Thoughts on Joshua Williams in particular? I thought he and Taylor in particular, when they were asked to jam and actually put their hands on guys, I thought they did fine enough in early in the reps so that they when they were exposed, it didn't cost them anything. But when they're asked to just turn and run or understand and recognize a route concept, they're just not there.
It's funny. I actually, I said in my video that I did about the cornerback 2 breakdown a few months ago between Jalen Watson and Josh Williams, I'm like, if you want someone to just be in the Snead mold, it's Joshua Williams. Just have him go up there and be in everyone's face and just put them in the dirt. That's what you want him doing. You don't want him being an off-coverage corner. That is Jalen Watson's bread and butter. He's best in that situation. He's much more comfortable in zone. Joshua Williams needs to be up there physically throwing off the timing so that he doesn't have to turn and run. He wants to stay in the hip pocket physically, and then he can turn and he can make the play on the ball when it's close because he plays the receiver well when he's close, and he's not thinking about, okay, he's got me stacked. He's in front of me. I have to catch up now. When he's there and he's in phase, that's when he's comfortable. So when he's being allowed to be physical, that's when he's actually good. But otherwise, that's why you see him and Jalen Watson rotate so much because they are very hot and cold players. And it's a problem when you trade away L'Jarius Sneed and you think you can just go back on 2 guys that are inconsistent. And this is where we are.
Cross all your fingers, toes, and otherwise. I'm totally with you. Thanks, Doug. I think we covered that one. Brett, Ryan, do all the I told you so. You called Carson Steele. Yeah, I did do a little bit on Twitter. You guys have been here listening, so I don't need to tell you, and I'm not trying to rub it in any way. But Brett also had a great question. Did Fabian Lovett play? Yes, he did quite a bit, actually. Yeah. Not till the second half, though. And what are your thoughts on FAU? I think we already covered that, Brett. This went in a while ago. But I'll just give you my quick thing, and then I'd like your detailed breakdown. Or I thought it was up and down for Fabian. If I'm his position coach tomorrow, he's coming out of those gates where you have to keep your pads down in order to go through the damn thing. It's not a gauntlet. I can't remember what they call it, but his pad level sucks. He pops right up and exposes his chest. It's freaking ridiculous. And unfortunately, it looks like he did at FSU. But while he was doing that, he also shifted his shoulders a few times and was able to penetrate the backfield more than I expected from his first NFL game, even though it was against 2s and 3s. So I saw up and down. What do you got?
That's pretty much how it is. He's up and then he's down, right? He's looking around like he wants to look at everybody, right? He's like, hey, guys, I see everything. I see the running back. And then he's like, oh, okay, I'm going backwards. Like that's just how he played. And that's something that I pointed out in his tape. Like he just pops right up. You can't do that in the NFL. You can't unless you are a legitimate super quick twitch athlete like Chris Jones, who just takes a step and he's like, oh, bye. It doesn't really matter if my chest is in your face. He can do that because he's an elite athlete. Fabian Lovett's not. He doesn't have that. Right. If he can get off and use his mass, because he's a huge dude. He is so big. Yeah. If he can get into gaps, he will be so tough to get uprooted. But he's up there. Yeah. And when the big problem here is that he's standing up. He's not like trying to swim or trying to get into a gap. He's just standing straight up. So even on times where like you see guys coming out of college that are swimming into gaps. The guy who I'm watching right now, Mason Graham, I'm doing a video on him for TDN on Monday. He swims into gaps, but every now and then you'll see him get caught in the chest because when you swim, you're naturally going up. So you'll get popped in the chest a couple of times. So Lovett needs to be able to get the pad level down, but realistically, it's all right here. The dude's got 35-inch arms. Like, he needs to extend. He needs to start using his hands more effectively and not trying to just stand up. If you're going to stand up, throw some damn hands, dude. Do something.
I completely agree. And honestly, he's not at this level, and this is going to sound premature. A guy that I had that same note on come out of college is now the best defensive tackle in the league named Chris Jones. So he understands where he started, and I think Chris Jones being a mentor is probably the key to Fabian getting on the field this year, and we'll just see where it goes from there. Sorry, I clicked something I shouldn't have. I didn't have that one set aside. But Tommy, I'm glad you're here, and this Tommy, I'm glad you're here. Yeah, I hope that he can keep it up. It was a step forward. I'm not going to call it a done deal, but we need to see more progress. Callie, nice to see you, buddy. And this is what it comes down to. Right now, he sees a room with Ross on the 53. Am I crazy? You're not crazy. Not at all. The question is, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he catch the pass where he had to go up and get it? That was from Wentz, was it not?
No, that was from Oladokin.
Was it? Okay. I think that is just the question. That's what he's built to do. That's what he's always done. That's his bread and butter. If they will do that, put him on the 53. I got
no problems with them doing that and then using him in the slot. Because to be very honest with you, get Rashee Rice on the outside more. He needs to play a little bit more. If you don't have Hollywood Brown, guess what? He needs to play more on the outside. Period. End of story. And if you're going to get Ross on the roster, if you want that big body, get him in the slot. Match him up with a nickel. You think a nickel's going to go up there and knock the football out of his hands? No. They're going to have to shade a safety over to him because if he's just going straight into the end zone down the seam, guess who's getting the football if there's no safety over top? Him. And then if you do have a safety over the top, you can go right underneath it. You can go seam, slant, boom, touchdown. Look, this is
easy. It's checkers. It's checkers. And we all know Andy can play chess. Callie, thanks, buddy. It's good to see you, and thanks for the 5 spot as always. Cole, want to say shout out a couple of our mods in here. I think I saw Gary before. Cole's in here. FLDB's back. Nice to see you, buddy. I don't know what you guys are talking about in the chat, but I just wanted to point you out. So, we're gonna get back into the questions. How many times have you watched Steel highlights? I've probably seen them a couple times, but I try not to watch highlights when I'm scouting players. So. I specifically stay away from it because it gives you a false sense of urgency, in my opinion. But there are people that use them as a starting point. Whatever floats your boat. Thanks, though, Kale. Jaden changed the direction slow, or is the game faster? I felt like he was caught off guard a couple of times. The game is faster, in my opinion, Tommy. And I thought first quarter against the starters, he was still a little bit getting used to that. When the twos came on, it was night and day. Like, he flipped the switch and he's good to go. I think you will see him progress here in the next 2 preseason games and be perfectly fine by week 1.
Yeah. This was a good little put your foot in the water a little bit, just kind of get your feet wet a little bit. And then he started to really actually feel the game a little bit faster. I think next week when you see him out there, he'll be a little bit faster with the change in the directions. But also you have to remember, he hasn't seen NFL offenses before. Even in the preseason, they're going to look and feel differently than they do in the Pac-12, where everything's out of shotgun. There's maybe some movement here, some movement there. But for the most part, they're kind of static, and they're just kind of throwing the ball at will or running the ball. So there's going to be some movement stuff where he's going to have to mentally see what's happening and then allow that to catch up. But at the end of the day, this dude is smart. Again, he was a top 50 player on my board, and they got him in the 4th round, and he was out there with the ones as a rookie. He's built for this.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple other guys that stood out that are not that high up, but he looked the part all the way around to me. Longmore, nice to see you. 4.5 years in the memberships. You are one of the people that keeps us going. Thank you, Longhorn. And I hope that you have a dram with you right now. I am out of Longhorn at this particular point in my life. I can't afford it anymore. So I'm going to go try to find some of that. Maybe there's an auction site or something I can find it. But thanks, buddy. We appreciate you. Girk, thank you again. Can Steele become the RB2? Thanks for liking the tweet. Absolutely, buddy. He could. I mean, you know what you have in Clyde. And I think Dan and I both feel like we understand what we don't have in Deneric Prince yet. It is mostly vision. I would say the same thing for LRZ, although there's another question about that coming next that I do want to answer. There is a possibility there, but I do still feel an acquisition of some kind is perfectly legitimate, especially at the position, because you're going to get running backs that you can just hand the ball and say, run as fast as you can to the edge and turn up. You can find those guys on the cut pile at the end of the day.
You can find guys that have decent vision. Like you can. There are tons of them, but for the most part, they're just not that overly dynamic, explosive player. Chiefs don't need that. They don't need that. They need someone that can see the hole, find the hole, get to the hole. Okay, that's all you really need. And maybe offer some upside as a pass protector. And if you want Steele to be the 2, that would be probably after this year if he continues to grow. And that's the development plan for him, right? You want to see what he offers now. We've seen some juice, we've seen some explosive, and the physicality is all there for the NFL. He's made for that. So you want to see him get his feet wet, let him see what he can do. But you want Clyde to be that buffer for him, because I know a lot of people don't like Clyde and they think that his vision sucks. To be honest with you, they just continue to use him on outside zone. I can't with this team and Clyde and outside zone. I don't get it. I can't understand it. But he has really fine vision in between the tackles where he's asked to do that. So you want him to be the buffer and help these young players with Pacheco, who has grown in his own right in his vision and his pass protection to help these younger players.
Yeah, I agree. This is one of the few times, Clyde's career has been one of the few times that I do feel the coaching staff, and Andy in particular, has said, I need you to fit into my offense and not the other way around. Usually it's not something that's, I agree. I completely agree with you. And Girk, thank you again, buddy. Nice to see another one of our members. Tommy, were you surprised to see Remigio and Zaman as kick returners to start the game? No, they've been running as the number ones in practice for a few weeks, right? Dan, did I miss anything? With Hardman sprinkled in, right?
I think so. I'm still surprised to see Zaman out there in any first repetition function. I'm sorry. He's not a football player yet. And you want to force that situation, you're going to make problems. So putting him out there in kick return as your first team kick returner, in my opinion, is not the way to go about this. It's a baptism by fire. Put McCole out there. Put Remigio out there. Guys that have actually done it a little bit. At least for Remigio, he's done it. This is the second year in the NFL. And McCole has done it, even though not his fault today. Not his fault. Not his fault.
I mean, when you take it in that context, though, the guy who was the most responsible with the ball in his hand or coming towards him in these plays last night was the guy who's never seen it happen before in his life, because everybody else screwed it up.
Well, the only time it came to him, it went into the landing zone. That's it. That's the only time he didn't have to deal with it. Oh! I'm trying to defend you, McCall. I'm trying.
Right? Tommy, they're going to figure it out. It might be ugly for a bit, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. I have faith in Dave Tope. Red, nice to see you. Thanks for coming to Locked On earlier. I do enjoy after these game reviews from you guys, because you see so much more than I do, and I've learned a ton from you. Well, thanks, Red. We appreciate that. I know everybody has fun, and we try to have fun as well, but we also try to share our experience and knowledge too. And there's plenty of things that I miss too. I get caught having to rewind plays because I'm typing one thing to make my notes when something happens.
My wife is currently TDY for a month plus, so I'm sitting on the couch I'm trying to make sure that my daughter's eating, that she's not jumping off something and hurting herself, and so I'm running around trying to do that, and I don't even have time to rewind plays and watch stuff that I missed. So I missed the entire first 3 minutes of the third quarter because I got other stuff I gotta do.
Where is she? Where's my pal tonight? Too late?
She's asleep. She's pretty much like she's gone to the point now where we do the routine. You know, she has her alone time, which is quote unquote bedtime, starting at like 7:30. But she always comes out of her room like at 8:30 every single night, and she goes to sleep actually around 9. So it's gotten to the point where she's functioning. If she comes down every night, I'm like, no, you can't do it every night. Every other night, fine, that's fine. But this every night nonsense can't happen.
God, God. Tommy's got an interesting take. I think Jalen Watson is our number 2 corner when he comes back. I think functionally that may be exactly what we see because they haven't seen him yet, and they've seen a little bit from everybody else. What do you think, Dan?
I'm still sticking with Josh Williams, especially in 2 cornerback sets, because I think that they will let him play more physically. And I also think that with his reps in the training camp and preseason, he's actually played, and Jalen Watson hasn't. So he's going to have to work his way back into that. And for right now, it will be him. But also, don't forget that there's a player, Joseph, who hasn't played in the preseason because he missed today with a little bit of an injury. So he might be able to work his way into the rotation as well.
Yeah, before that happened, he was running with the ones. He was well ahead of Keith Taylor, who played a ton tonight.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was a long shot because honestly, like I talked to Kelvin Joseph when he was coming into the draft. And he seemed like a guy that was thoughtful, but maybe not like he hadn't seen a whole lot. He had played in a system, and clearly he's been system specific because he's already playing better in Kansas City than he's played anywhere else in his career, including off man in Dallas in particular. But I don't know what his confidence is. If he's got a little fragility there and maybe some of this wears into it, he's got to bounce back from this mentally, maybe more than physically, before he's going to be ready to go. But Tommy, we should know here in a day or two. Dan's going to be out of training camp. This is going to be great. This is the most important week for training camp. It's the last few days in St. Joe every year after the first preseason game, because you're going to see what they're going to change and who that's going to bring change to. Critical. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure we'll have some interesting takes from you. Always. And maybe Avery too.
I hope so. As long as she's paying attention.
Yeah, I'm sure she will. She does a great job at practices. Dennis, thanks, buddy. 7 months and running. Appreciate you. I'm about 12 minutes behind, but the O-line seems it had issues, especially on the right side. Well, if you hold on tight, you should be just getting to our O-line discussion. But yeah, the right side, I felt. I don't know. Is that where Norzad was? Yeah, because Hansen came in on the at center, right? That's where Kelly
Hansen was
slid over.
Left first, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Hansen was at left guard first, then he switched with Norzad, and they both stayed with Caliendo at center. Was the initial one, because I have it written down as Wentz. It was Godric, Hansen, Caliendo, Norzad, Niang, and then after Wentz with Oladokin, it was switched. And I still think Caliendo was the center. They just switched guards, and then they brought in Drixall as the left tackle.
Gotcha. I'm going to go back and watch Hansen in particular because I do think he has so much upside. I just haven't been able to have a clear idea of where he is yet. I haven't seen hardly anything of him at camp. So that's one guy that I'm going to go back and check his reps. FLDB, thanks, buddy. So with you. I am ready for this to be
Let's
on
go.
Again. Des, thank you, pal, for all the support every year like you always do. Appreciate you, man. What did you think about the few snaps Kingsley played? Does it mean that the LT battle since Andy pulled him? Yes, he is your LT1. It's not even close to a question. Even if Wanre was healthy, he was getting the LT2 snaps. I'm really keen after tonight, Dan. If Wanye can practice on Monday, I want him at left guard. I'm done. I've been asking for this forever, Andy. And Andy, put him at left guard and let's stop screwing around.
This is it. He's your swing tackle. This is your Cameron Irving, guys. He's going to be a little bit better. Maybe not now, but yeah, Cameron Irving was as much as you didn't like all the play on the field, at times he could do everything you asked, and he was a fantastic teammate. So Wanya Morris should absolutely be your swing tackle on this team, especially given the guard play. I think Norzad again was up and down. He's probably your best bet, but Caliendo coming off the bench, I don't know. It's not something that makes me very excited. And I'll be honest, the offense functioned with Patrick Mahomes and Kingsley Suamataia at left tackle. It functioned, okay? Yep. So everywhere else it didn't really function. So that tells me that I feel pretty good about that, and I think that he's only going to get better from here on out.
I agree, and I think, I just lost it. You had it.
No.
Your comment about Donovan, if they were to bring in a veteran, Donovan Smith or anyone else, it is to be a backup mentor type guy, not to take Kingsley's spot. Kingsley's fine. He is the starter. It's over.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
I think so.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's where I'm at. I just want to make sure I'm not speaking for you if you disagree. Thanks, Des. Appreciate you. Donnie, thank you. Is it me or does FAU look quicker? I think a little bit. Not enough, I think, to make him the force that he will be. You notice they didn't give him any super wide 9 reps tonight. They even reduced him down inside the tackle once or twice. So, I think you tell me, in my mind, I feel like he's a long strider. He has to work on quickening his short steps because he's used to taking long steps to try to turn that wider arc.
Yeah, he likes to, especially coming out, like he was a explode off the ball and get that right foot out behind the tackle. And I'm working through, dude. Like I'm just working through you. If it's around you or countering inside, that's what he wanted to do. So I don't disagree with you at all. He's got to marry his footwork and his hand work. Like he's getting better with his hand usage, but he has to marry them. The big problem right now is that he's getting out to the arc and his hands aren't finished. They're still doing their thing. So he can't get his feet in the ground and corner because his hands are still back here. So your feet are in one spot, your hands are in the other, and you're just like, I need to get there, but I can't do it just yet.
But it is progress. And it is, I think, significant from what we saw even in the Super Bowl, where he did make a couple of plays and looked pretty good. So, Donnie, thanks for pointing that out, and cheers for the $2 chuck, buddy. And you too as well, Des. Again, any chance the starters play at all now next Saturday? I don't think Andy can get away from it. I think they will play. I think it might be reduced. Normally he would go about a quarter, 2, possibly 3 drives. It might just be the 1 drive again. I don't know.
This is the 3rd preseason game. Remember, there's only 3 left. There's only 3 now. So this functions as the 3rd preseason game. So yes, Andy Reid will play them. If not the whole first quarter, I think into the second quarter. Because as much as you don't want guys to get hurt, this is football. They have a long season, and you don't want to start the season off on a note where you're still slow. Drew Tranquill was slow today. He was slow. A lot of the guys in the defense were a little slow. You need to get going. They're not going to play in the 3rd preseason game at all. So you need to get something out of this next preseason game. 1 drive and over, I don't think is enough. Even 1 quarter, I don't think is enough.
Yeah, in a perfect world, I'd like to see him get a lot more than that. Bradley, thank you. When it comes to Chiefs rookies in tonight's preseason game, it's good to have criticism about the game tonight and all about getting better. Absolutely, Bradley. You got to be real. You got to show people where their shortnesses are so they can improve. That it is a road towards improvement, especially for the rookies. That's what it's all about.
What do you think the coaching staff's doing right now? You think they're saying, "Hey guys, good job out there. Good way to get after it." No, these are professionals. This is your job now. Hey, you get your ass over here. We're watching this now, and you're gonna on the plane. You think they're not getting in their groups and they're not watching this back and saying what you did wrong, what you need to work better on? When we get into camp, guess who's running here? Guess who's doing that? No, they have to do these things. Everyone has to. So while we function as a way for entertainment, but also we try to teach as much. We have our own notes. Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk and hold back because, one, I know that the Chiefs watch this channel. They should understand that I'm not going to hold back. If I see something that I don't like, I'm going to come out and I'm going to say it. And that's why I don't like the situation they're at with their offensive line. That's why I'm talking. You need to go and bring back Donovan Smith. When Wanya Morris is healthy, like Ryan said, he should kick inside because you don't have a solid starter yet. So yes, Bradley, they need some criticism. Everyone needs a little bit of constructive criticism, especially the young players.
I agree. And from my coaching experience and everyone I know in coaching, tonight is kind of a special circumstance Because yes, they do have to do all that work as groups in their position rooms, right? But there's also a couple of guys that are going to be on this plane home to Kansas City tonight that are going to go ask for and receive Surface tablets so they can look at what they did wrong tonight.
Yeah.
And be prepared for tomorrow. Even though they're just getting treatment tomorrow, they might see their position coach, they might see somebody else. They need to be ready. Those guys are what you're looking for. The dude that's pissed off for what little mistake he made tonight and is ready to improve. That's why everything you see in training camp is one thing. What happens now after you got punched in the face, that's what matters the most. Let's see what they do. Susie, welcome to the memberships. Glad to have you with us.
Welcome in, Susie.
Nice to see you. And you thought Herring was really good. I think Herring showed that he should be on this roster. If nothing else, he played at end, he played at tackle, he played on both sides of the formation. He can do enough that he's like a break glass guy across the whole front, to be honest. I think he's on the roster. Do you?
Yes, I do. I think especially with their misgivings at tackle, they have to have him there because he can still hold up against the run as a tackle and give you a little bit of something against some guards in the pass rush. We saw him do it today where he got a hand on the football. That was Dickerson. My apologies. That was Matt Dickerson. It was not Herring. But still, he was getting in there on the inside, which I think that they need with what they have at defensive tackle.
I'm with you. And Susie, I also saw some of your other comments. I felt like Wiley looked like he's thinking too much. I wouldn't call it a wash or a terrible performance. I thought he had a couple of passes that were iffy, quite frankly. I don't think the quarterbacks helped him out much, but what was your take, Dan?
Yeah, this is what it is. Jared Wiley played in 2 college offenses. He had to transfer out of Texas to get playing time. That tells you, one, okay, he wasn't as talented maybe as he thought or the team thought. So you had to go somewhere else to get playing time. And they used him all over the place. What happens in college for a tight end that's used all over the place? I want you guys to go back and watch Jonathan Mingo at Carolina last year for Ole Miss, who was literally used everywhere, including tight end. You think the game was very easy for him to pick up? No, because he's got no idea what he's supposed to be doing. He thinks in game situations, he's going to have all these things to worry about. In Kansas City, they're going to do a little bit different with him. So Wiley is, again, his role was more specialized today. I thought you saw him out there quite a bit. And then coming back on the field in the fourth quarter was a little bit interesting to me. But the fact that he was continuing to get out there, I think is a good thing for him because he needs the reps more than almost any tight end on the roster because he's got a lot of learning to do. TCU's offense is not complicated. It's not. And you're all over the place. You're doing very, very small changes, if anything, in what you're being asked to do at TCU. So coming in, having to change your routes based on what you're looking at, reading, it's very different. So I think Ryan's right in the sense that it's so fast. It's moving so fast. Even the backups in the NFL are faster than what they are at collegiate TCU. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, I think he'll progress. I think he will move forward. Let's give him a shot next time. I thought Noah Gray looked okay. I still see the potential in Cup. It doesn't look like he's grasping enough yet. I want to see him in the next ball game, and we'll see where that goes from there because I do like his potential quite a bit. So we'll get there. Thank you, Caroline. And I know that you have a special interest in tight ends, so it's going to be fun to see.
Carson Wentz with that just beautiful jab over the middle of the field to Noah Gray was just it was great. It brings up nice feelings.
It warms your heart. And I hope we can do that for you, Lego. I want to take a second, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm my
sorry,
condolences
Lego,
for what you're going through. I lost my mom going on 8 years ago, and it'll still bite you. And I'm sorry to say it doesn't ever really go away. So I know where you're going through right now, and I've been there, and it does have a toll. So cheers to you, my friend, and glad that you're here with us. We'll try to make football a distraction for you.
As someone that grew up with a mom always in the hospital, like I can't compare my situation to what you, Ryan, anyone else who's lost their mother, but anytime she has to go in for surgery, it's quite frequent, and you never know what's going to happen in surgery. So I wish you nothing but the best in a time that is always the worst. And hopefully we can be an escape, because that's at the end of the day, I think what we do best is we try to give everyone as much as we can in the learning side, but we can also be an escape for whatever you're going through in life. And that's one thing that I want us to be as much as a learning platform. Get an escape from what you have to deal with on an everyday basis, because life is not fun for a lot of people through the majority of the time.
I'm with you. And I think our fan base here, this is a good place to come. RGR Rogue Nation is a fun and a caring place. So we appreciate you. It's a tough one. And it'll still get me too. Ralph, LRZ received a kick, kicked off, ran the ball, received a pass, blocked in pass pro, and made a tackle. Yes. Now I got to see him do it better. But he'll get there. Especially that one pass on the side, it looked like he almost had enough wiggle to get loose. Like he's still playing with angles and guys coming at him. I think he's got something.
We'll see. I couldn't quite see the wiggle that everyone else has been talking about. I'm just like, he's a little rigid, a little upright to me, but maybe it's just his frame.
That is part of it, but I mean, he still needs to make adjustments. I'm completely with you. Okay, folks, we're going to wrap up on Bumpus because I'm just doing a last-minute check here. Stefania Bell just kind of chimed in as well. And if you guys don't follow her on fantasy, Stefania is a KU grad and a physical therapist. I believe she's a doctor of physical therapy at this point. And she brings up a good point that I hadn't considered. There are also tied to the clavicular joint some blood vessel work there too. So you can rupture blood vessels that can be tricky to repair and could require surgery. As Bumpa asks here, it sounds that it's serious. Could it be surgery? It possibly could. I don't see that right now yet. Looks like Hollywood tweeted something himself about God makes no mistakes. Okay. Well, it is what it is then, buddy. If it's a non-surgical and he can get back to Kansas City and recover, I think we could see something along the lines of 6 weeks. If I remember correctly, his previous injuries, he's not exactly like an overly fast healer like Tyreek is. Tyreek was back at the front end of every injury he ever had. So I can't say that I can expect that. But if he does have a surgery, that is going to change the prognosis and the timeline. That's for sure. Fingers crossed. Otherwise, Xavier, jump in the fire.
It's going to be. I don't think you rush him back regardless. I don't think he's playing week one. Xavier Worthy is going to be utilized quite a bit in week one. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to see Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, guys. I'll be very honest with you. We're going to say it right now. I don't think Kadarius Toney makes his roster. Injured again. Buddy. No.
And I got to tell you.
Not doing this again.
I feel like Andy's attitude on him is sinking. Like every time he's asked about it, like there was somebody, and it has nothing to do with the fact that they're a foreigner, but somebody from one of the Latin American countries that the NFL is trying to expand to. Yeah. He started asking about Toney after he'd already addressed it. And he looked like he was just going to slap the dude. Like I think he is so soured on having to answer questions about Kadarius Toney that I don't know. It might be a last straw here coming soon. I don't know. But
when you get injured in the preseason after dealing with injuries last year and then not, calling out your coaches for injury stuff. I mean, come on. Who wants to answer questions about that anymore? Not this guy and not Andy Reid. So Justin Ross or bust. Here we go. I'm on the train, guys.
Are you on the train? Okay, cool.
I'm on the train.
I hope that you guys are on the train. And I hope that you enjoyed the first preseason game. There will be more, and there will be more breakdowns. We will have live Monday night. I have a couple other guys that I wanted to mention I didn't get to. I'll try to throw something up for you guys tomorrow just to spew out my notes. I will have my notes up on Monday for you members. You can have that. And we're just going to keep on rolling. We have a lot of cool stuff coming for you and some special new sponsors that are going to give you guys some stuff that is blowing my mind right now. I can't wait to show it to you all, but you can always support them, and they hopefully it's stuff that you're interested in as well. So thanks for spending your time with us. We very much appreciate you. And Dan, good luck with the little one for the month.
Well, I'm used to it at this point. We all do what we got to do, and You know, being a stay-at-home dad has its privileges. It has its drawbacks at times, and this is just something we get through. And the fact that we get to spend more time watching football together is just another one of those blessings.
You know what's funny is just the other night, my teenager was like, "Dad, let's watch something together for once," because we were all home and like she practices so much I don't see her. She's like, "Let's go watch Receiver on Netflix." So we just started that series. So we're gonna go watch some Justin Jefferson tonight. Everybody else is asleep. So you guys have a great night. Spend times with the one you love. Lego, we're with you.
Yep.
We got you, buddy. We'll see you all Monday night. Have a good one. We'll talk to you then.